behind every business and every brand, there's a story, because there is a person or a group of people that have their stories and a reason why they built that company. First thing, know your audience and analyze them. When we talk about personal branding, it's not about just for people that has a business. It's also for people that maybe wants to find a job or they just want to start building their career.
Welcome to the Growth Concept Podcast. I'm your host, Keone Upton. And if you're new to the show, my mission is to help you become the best version of yourself possible by interviewing experts in different fields of work so they can share their wisdom and expertise all in one place. Now, in this episode, if you've ever wanted to build a personal brand or interested in building a personal brand or leveraging social media to establish a solid strategy, this episode is for you. I'm joined by Laia, a social media manager and personal brand expert originally from Spain. In just 4 years after moving to Australia, she not only learnt English, but also built a thriving business in social media management and branding. Now she helps others craft their digital identities through workshops and tailored strategies. We'll dive into the power of personal branding, how to create meaningful connections online, and the secrets to building a strong digital presence that stands out from your competitors. That's enough from me. Let's get into it. Enjoy this episode. Laia, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on to the Growth Concept Podcast to share your wisdom over the whole social media world these days. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Tell us a bit about what you do, and if I was going to see an average day in your life, what would I see?
What I do, I work with different clients creating their marketing strategy, but I'm more focused on social media just because I'm more focused on storytelling and the stories behind the brands. So that's why I use social media to create those connections with their potential clients or their clients. So I spent a lot of time in social media, but yeah, I have in my day, there is a part of a strategy for my clients, a part creating content for them. I have lots of meetings as well because I need to understand really well their stories to be able to explain them.
When you say social media, is that all platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and stuff?
Yeah, it depends on the client and their audience. So if it's a B2B business, I would be more on LinkedIn. While if it's something that a company that they are targeting, for example, young people, I would be more in TikTok. So it depends on the business that I would be working on a different social media
platform. And this is
platform.
obviously mainly on laptop, or is it in-person interactions as well?
You mean my job?
Yeah.
I do a lot of the meetings online now, but I'm doing also in-person meetings, but I work for overseas as well because, well, actually I'm moving now to Spain. So I have lots of meetings with Spain in the Spanish time zone. So, yeah.
How have you found with the work you're doing from obviously being in Australia and having some clients in Australia? Do you have any clients in Australia?
Yeah, I have some clients in Australia. I used to have more before, but now that I know that I'm moving back to Spain, yeah, the clients from Spain are approaching to me more than the Australians.
How do you find different work environments from the Spanish social media to the Australian social media? Is there a difference in like the niche market over there or like with trends and stuff?
Yeah, just the language is different. So creating the content and, for example, the humor is different. I work a lot doing international marketing, and depending on your audience, you need to create different content. So, for example, I work a lot with Spanish companies that want to expand into Australia. So the content we are doing for the Australian market is really different to the content that they are doing for the Spanish market. So, yeah, of course, there is differences, but at the same time, this is a global tool and a global strategy marketing. So there are a lot of common things, but in terms of content, it will be different for the different audiences.
Yeah, that's very valid. Your mission stood out to me on your website. Your mission is to create meaningful connections that drive results. Why is this your mission, and why is that so important to you?
Well, behind every business and every brand, there is a story, because there is a person or a group of people that have their stories and a reason why they built that company. And I believe on those emotional connections between them and their clients or potential clients. It's not the same buying to someone that you don't know than buying to someone that you know. So, and you know their story behind. So creating those emotional connections through those stories, it's something that I find really valuable and something that can differentiate you to your competitors.
With your marketing, do you look at specific things other than their story, or is it purely emphasizing that business's story and having that accessible for the potential customers or clients?
Well, I feel that the story, I would say, is the main pillar. But then, of course, we have other content pillars. I always talk about content pillars. That I would say the main one is the story of the brand, but also you need to educate your clients, for example, on what you are doing and how you can help them. Or you need to promote, of course, your products or services. Although I would say always that the promotion shouldn't be more than the 20% of your content. So yeah, I try to balance the different kind of content, but having the story of the brand, I would say the main pillar.
Because I remember the workshop you did a few months back now. It was the 3 pillars. It was educate. What was the other one? Educate, because that one was promote. That was the last one.
It was educate, promote, and inspire.
Inspire, that's right. Yeah. Do you apply the same system to your work?
Yeah, exactly.
And you were saying 20% roughly is promoting, and then would it be evenly spread between inspiring the client and educating them?
Yeah. Maybe it can be 40%, and 20%.
Yeah.
But of course, you can have more pillars, not just them. And I would say those are the main pillars, but then I put the company pillars on the other side. So I try to match. Like, for example, the story would be one of the business pillars that I would, for example, you can promote through a story or you can inspire through a story.
Yeah.
Another one could be the services that you have or the success of your customers. So yeah, you can play with them, play around with them. But yeah, promotion shouldn't be more than that 20%. So yeah, it could be 40%, 40% or 30%.
Does that change with specific clients you have? Like whether it's more, maybe they promote a bit more or they inspire a bit more, educate a bit more. Does that change based on the business model or their goal or target?
Yeah. For example, I would say like a yoga teacher. She inspires a lot.
Yeah.
She needs to inspire their potential clients. So most of the content would be inspiring. While for another kind of business that it's more based on, for example, dance classes or dance workshops, they would be educating a lot of the time. Yeah. So it depends a lot on the business.
Let's move on to the importance of personal branding, because this is fairly new these days, but it's one of those things that's rapidly adapting and changing to this modern era we're now entering. What makes a good personal brand?
I would say be authentic.
Authentic, yeah.
Yeah. Also share your values. Share what is behind the scene for you. And yeah, build trust with your customers. Of course, while you're working with your personal brand, you will be sharing your journey. Well, you should be sharing your journey. You should be sharing your achievements. So you will be also building your authority. So that's it. Like, for example, you cannot base your personal brand on what ChatGPT is saying to you.
Sorry, do you mind repeating that?
I mean, like the artificial intelligence.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So because some people is, okay, I'm going to work on my personal brand this 2025. I'm going to be more, I'm going to be posting more on LinkedIn. Okay, but what are you going to be posting? And some people just ask to ChatGPT, like, I need to create a post for my LinkedIn. And I do this and this and this. And they are not being that authentic. So they are not sharing, like they are not keeping their voice. They are just sharing stuff that everyone is sharing. So they are not building their personal brand. It's so important when you start building your personal brand, you start being authentic. You don't want to be everything to everyone.
Yep.
You're going to have your audience that you are going to be targeting, and maybe there is people that they don't like you, and that's totally fine. It's your personal brand.
Yeah, I think that's good to highlight as well, that you can't be everyone's favorite, and if you were, you'd be no one's favorite.
Yeah.
You mentioned that authentic. What does that mean to create an authentic brand? Does that mean like the content you create is based on the mission someone is on? Or is it something a bit different?
I would say be yourself when
yourself.
I'm saying authentic. Share what you are. Why are you doing what you are doing? What are your mistakes? Because everyone has mistakes, and that's totally, like, we can understand that.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of yourself, and I also have my mistakes. So, that's what means being authentic for me.
Do you find that sharing those mistakes on a platform as such creates that trust and authenticity behind your brand?
That makes you human.
Yeah.
And people is not buying to logos. They are buying to other people. So, of course, you can share your mistakes, but then you also can share your solution. How did you solve that problem, that mistake that you did? And also, you can also share your achievements. So it's not all about what you have done wrong. It's about how you are building your career or your journey, and how are you in your business. Like, no one is perfect.
Yeah, 100%. Why is personal branding crucial in today's digital age, especially for professionals, entrepreneurs creating a business or a platform?
Yeah, it's similar to what I was saying at the beginning. That makes you different to your competitors. And for example, I'm going to say, like, imagine that you need an accountant, that you have a business and you need to find an accountant to help you. And you start Googling different accountants in Perth. And there are nice websites that they are showing their services and how they can help you. But you find one accountant that he or she is sharing their journey, their achievements, tips. They are sharing what they are doing.
Yeah.
So would you choose that accountant, or you would choose another accountant that you don't know anything about?
That just has a nice website. That has just clicked with my brain. Like, having that kind of documenting that journey or your mission throughout it to where you are now. Like, people look at that and be like, oh, he's legit, like, or that person's legit on what they're doing. That's a really good point.
It is.
With your clients that you have, do you mind sharing a story or experience that you had, that a massive transformation they had, whether it was in their personal brand, business, or experience that completely transformed them?
I'm going to share my experience.
Yes, let's hear it.
As you know, I'm from Spain, and I came here in Australia 4 years ago. I had my own business back in Spain, and I was here for personal reasons. So I had to start almost from scratch. So I needed to build that personal brand. First, I wanted to find a job. And that was not intentional, but with my husband, we started a YouTube channel to show our journey here in Australia. And actually, it was in Catalan. That's the Catalan language in Spain. So actually, Australian people didn't really understand what we were saying in that YouTube channel. But that helped me to find my first job and also my first client.
Wow. Congratulations.
Because they could see that I could edit videos, that I could show up in front of the camera, and they could see something on me. And they both told me that one of the reasons why they chose me was because they could see myself in YouTube. And they couldn't understand anything of what I was saying, but it helped to them. That was the first part, because when we talk about personal branding, it's not about for people that has a business. It's also for people that maybe wants to find a job, or they just want to start building their career. So that can help them to find a job as well, for example. But then I decided to start my business here in Australia as well. So I had to find clients. I didn't have a network. I didn't know anyone. And English was not my first language. So it was, I had to start from scratch again. And I said, okay, I'm going to work on my personal brand, but this time I'm going to do it right in English and in appropriate platform. So I started posting on LinkedIn. And I was, at the same time, I was going to a lot of networking events. And every time I was meeting someone, I was asking for their LinkedIn profile and I was connecting with them. And I was posting a lot about my journey, about social media tips, about marketing. Yeah, I was creating my personal brand. So every time they connected with me, I was showing up on their feed. So when they needed someone with my skills, they remind my business, so they contacted me. And there's a fun fact that I love fashion, and I actually studied a bit of fashion, and I wanted to have some projects in fashion, and I didn't have any, and I started to post a bit about fashion. And it was a client that came to me because they saw that and it was, oh, you are into fashion. You studied something about fashion, and I have this project that I would like you to do. So I would say that's a success story.
So cool. Wow. It's like so cool having that transformation of, because you pretty much had to start from scratch from coming from Spain to Australia. What fears or challenges did you come across when you were starting your personal brand pretty much from scratch?
I would say because it was in a completely new country. And
especially different language too.
Yeah.
I imagine that'd be so hard.
For me, that was the hardest part, the language, because I was not confident enough. I was thinking, I'm selling communications to people that don't talk my language. So I was so unconfident at the beginning, but it was after working on my personal brand and starting getting feedback from my clients and potential clients and people in the field when I started to build my confidence, and I was more confident to be posting. But I would say confidence was the first challenge that I had. But I would say that I was my worst enemy.
How?
Because I was the one that was thinking that I was not enough for the Australian market, while everyone I was talking to, they were so happy with my work and they wanted to work with me. So I think we need to be confident and we need to start posting. So this is I would say that was the challenge that I had, that I overcame.
Having that adjustment of obviously language as well as that limiting belief of feeling like you're not good enough for the Perth market. Why do you think you had that limiting belief of not being good enough for the Perth market, even though you were excelling in the Spain market as such? Like, where does that correlation come from?
I don't know. I think it was just my head.
Just the fear, yeah.
Yeah, just the fear. Just that I was not feeling that good in English at the time and that confident. Even I went to an English school when I first arrived. I did my IELTS exam and I was I had the advanced mark. So I was good in English. But because, of course, sometimes the Aussie accent, it's quite hard sometimes. So with the first meetings, I was so afraid about maybe I don't understand them well, or I miss something that it's important, or maybe, I don't know.
Did they teach you the Aussie lingo? Like Macca's.
Yeah, when I first arrived and I went to the English school, that was that book that was called Aussie Slangs. So I was studying at night, okay, Arvo, afternoon, that kind of things.
G'day, mate. Yeah. That's a good one as well. Obviously with your business now being established in Australia as well as, do you still have the one in Spain? Or are you going to build that one up as well?
Yeah, I'm building that now. I'm doing it international, so I'm not based in any place anymore. So what I want to be is to have an international business, so I can have clients in Spain, clients here in Australia. I'm launching this week actually.
Congratulations.
So
That's very exciting. All links will be in the show notes to this episode as well for the audience to check out. Personal branding, what common mistakes do you see people making that you see online with starting out their personal brand?
I would say not being authentic. As I was saying before. Think too much about promoting your business or yourself. Also copying competitors, when sometimes we start copying someone because we like what they do. and we are not thinking about who we are and what we want to share. Being too selfish as well, just talking about myself. We need to think about the people that it's behind the screen and what they want to read, what challenges they have, so we can we can inspire them. So if we are talking too much about ourselves, they are not gonna read us, for example.
The truth is, like, no one really cares about you. It's what you offer, what value you can provide, which is something I've definitely found with starting a personal brand for myself, which has been a good learning curve.
It is.
With obviously touching on personal branding now, let's talk about the strategies, that social media strategy for leveraging the platform to help grow your personal brand to the next level. What does a good social media strategy involve in your view?
As what we were talking before, and we talked in the workshop where we met, the first thing it's know your audience and analyze them. So as we were saying, we cannot be everything to everyone, and not everyone is gonna need our services or products, for example. So let's see who we want to target and what they need and what they want. So checking what are their challenges, their goals, what inspire them, how they are, their age as well. So the first part that comes in a strategy, in a social media strategy, is to know them. Then we need to define those content pillars that we were saying before. So we need to define, we always have education, promoting, inspire, but then we need to have our own pillars depending on our business. So they can be maybe your services, your story, your values, success stories, for example. And based on that, we are going to start creating content. But we need to make sure that we are not always posting the same kind of content, that they can get different stuff from our content. The third part would be about optimizing our profile. And now, especially now that we are entering in 2025, there are those search engines in social media like Google.
That SEO marketing, search
engine
optimization.
Yeah, exactly. We use SEO more for Google, to rank our content in Google. But that's coming more and more to social media. So if someone looks for our kind of services, they are searching in the Instagram bar, for example, we need to come up there. So to be the first people that they find, or the first account in the list, we need to use the right words in our profile. So for example, in Instagram would be our name. It's important that we don't have just our business name. We need to have as well what's our main services and use our keywords as we would be using in our website. So it's important that we optimize the profile, that we say what we are doing and be really short so they can see. I always say that in 5 seconds, when they get into your profile, they should be able to know what you are doing, what you can offer to them, why they should be following you.
Yeah, definitely. With your own established businesses, what are a couple keywords you would use to help that search engine optimization for your benefit?
For my business.
Yeah. What would it be? Digital marketer or something?
Yeah, it depends. If you want to focus more on social media management, it could be social media manager in Perth. Or for example, now that I'm more focused on international marketing, I have international marketing. Or it depends on what you are doing. If you are just doing digital marketing in general, so you can say digital marketing agency. There are different ways to do it.
You mentioned at the start of having that good solid social media strategy of knowing your audience, knowing your niche market. How does someone identify their niche market, and what questions should they ask themselves for the value they're bringing to the table?
So good question.
Yeah.
That's something that comes before the marketing strategy. When you are creating a business, you need to know who are you targeting. For example, if we are selling, kids' shoes, we know that our audience will be parents. So it comes with the business strategy, and once we have the business strategy done, we should be able to know who our audience is.
So with small business and solopreneurs as such, how can they make the most of their limited time and resources that they may have to create an effective personal brand and leverage the social media platforms out there?
The first part would be creating that social media strategy. Then have a good content calendar. So once we have all this part done and we know what kind of content we want to start posting, let's create a calendar and see which days we want to post and what we want to post. So that will make the job really easy. So you can maybe once every 2 weeks or once every month, or once a week, depending on how you work, you can create the content and then schedule it. So if we're talking about Instagram and Facebook, we have Meta Business Suite. That it's a tool that it's free.
Meta Business Suite.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Meta Business, it's SUITE.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My accent sometimes. So that helps you you can schedule content from there. You can see your insights, so you can analyze how is everything going. You can manage your messages, the inbox, from Facebook, Instagram, also WhatsApp Business, because that's part of the same business, Meta. So using that, you will be more productive, and then maybe show up spontaneously. So sometimes we don't know what to post, and maybe to engage with our community, we just need to create a story, talking in front of the camera and explaining what we are doing, and show a bit of behind the scenes of your business. That's a good strategy when you don't have time and you just need to create content. That would be a good example of content we can do. And then there are also, if you are creating reels and short videos, there are some tools that makes the job easier. There is CapCut from TikTok, and then Instagram is just announcing that they are also creating an app that they are copying.
I need to stay up to date to these trends, eh? With just touching on what's been happening with TikTok lately, with good old Trump banning TikTok in the US, do you feel that's going to affect social media platforms elsewhere in different countries with TikTok being banned, or is it kind of who knows at this point?
With everything that is going on in the world, it's so hard to answer, because also from Meta, from Instagram, they are doing some announcements that are quite tricky. I would say maybe we need to be present in different social media platforms, even if it's not the best one for your audience, because if we are just in TikTok and TikTok suddenly disappear, at least we can keep the community somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Not like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, diversify your content, if that makes sense.
Or at least have a database with your clients or your community, so you can engage through newsletters, for example. So you can be in different platforms at the same time.
With your own personal brand and business development and strategy, how did you go through that learning process? Did you have mentorship around figuring out your strategies, etc.? Did you have mentorship or education around that, or did you just sit down and be like, okay, this is my target audience?
Wow, that's a good question, because in Spain we study a lot. we go a lot to the university. Actually, when I came here, my colleagues were saying, but you're over-educated. But in Spain, you need to have your degree, your master, your postgraduate diploma, so you study a lot, because there's a lot of people and you have a lot of competitors. So that's something that it's considered a good point in your resume. So I studied journalism, then I did a master in corporate communications. I also did a postgraduate diploma in digital transformations of organizations. But to be honest, that's not where I learned that much. I would say when I started working, of course, I started as a junior with a junior position, and I had people around that inspired me a lot in different ways, not just in marketing, because they were not from my field, they were more in sales. So I learned a lot from them. And then I also learned from being in front of the computer and searching, doing some online courses, and getting inspired by other professionals.
Definitely finding that external education helps with building that solid foundation.
Yeah. Yeah, having those mentors, even if it's not like a formal mentor that you are paying or you are having an agreement. Maybe it's just your boss, or maybe it's just your colleague. Or in my case, maybe it was just a client. But they were so, I would say, hard with me. Like, they were really picky.
Straight to the point.
Yeah. And I learned a lot from them. And I had some bosses that they were really bad with me. Like, I don't remember that moment in my life really well. But then that was a master for me. I learned a lot from them.
So with obviously entering 2025 now, what social media strategies or trends should we be looking out for, in your opinion, for someone wanting to start their own personal brand or already has an established personal brand? Where should we be looking, you think? Like,
which platform you mean? Or
yeah, it's a pretty broad question, but yeah, platform in general, as well as like short form content. Do you think that's still going to excel drastically, or might slow down a bit?
Short form content, it's gonna keep in the radar. Like, it's gonna work really, really well. It depends on the platform. For example, Instagram is saying that they are focusing this year more into creators and creating genuine connections. So as I was saying, for example, Instagram is creating their own tool to be able to create short videos through the iPhone or through the mobile phone, because they want to boost that creativity from the users and creators. They also want to have more functions to connect with people and connect in different ways, not just through messages, for example. So creating content, like genuine content, and that it's easy to share would be something that would be really useful. And I would say the reach of that content will be boosted. What else? AI.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. It's expanding rapidly these days. It's scary, but if you're not jumping on the bandwagon, like when it's excelling, you will be left behind essentially. Do you think we should be adapting to AI when it comes to editing content and all that?
Yeah, definitely. It's a new tool. We don't need to see them to see it as something as a challenge that we have to overcome. It's a tool that we are gonna use. It's like, I would say, like, for example, with email, people were saying, oh, but now we are not gonna be writing letters, and now it's not even a thing, writing letters. So we have to think that this is a new tool, and we need to adapt ourselves to those tools. Take that as an advantage.
Yeah, definitely. I got 2 last questions for you.
Okay.
If you could go back to your younger self with the knowledge and wisdom you have now, what would you tell your younger self and why?
I would say learn from all people, from experienced people, but be yourself and be confident with your decisions. Because sometimes they have more experience, we think that what they do is better. And of course, there is a part that you need to learn from them. But the world is changing, and the new audiences are like you if you are young. So be confident with yourself and take your thoughts and your decisions as right. Don't think that what all people or experienced people is saying to do is always right.
Yeah, especially with the world changing so rapidly these days. Would you do anything different with obviously learning that? Like if you could go back, would you do anything different, or do you feel everything's panned out the way?
I like how everything went and how my career has grown. I don't think I would change anything. Everything has been a learning from me, for me. Just that part of being more confident, especially when I arrived to Australia.
Yeah.
But just for myself, because everything went well. It was more about how my anxiety was going on at the time. But yeah, be confident.
How long have you been in Australia for?
4 years now.
4 years. In 4 years, you've learned pretty much a whole nother language, built a business, and now doing workshops to educating Australians on what you know. That's absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
That story is so inspiring. With that being said, where can people connect with you if they're interested in your work or want to connect?
So they can now connect with me by email. This is laia@uniquebylaia.com. So unique is my new business. Unique is a word that can be understood in 3 different languages. That is Spanish, Catalan, and English.
Wow. That's a good name.
That's spelled as is in Catalan. It is UNIC. But we can pronounce it with the 3 languages with the same meaning, that it's unique, and because I'm telling stories that make the businesses unique, and I'm telling their uniqueness. So yeah, they can find me with that email or in Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So I'm sure you will share those links.
Yep. All links will be in the show notes below.
So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laia. I really appreciate it, and best of luck with moving to Spain again and with your business over there for 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
That wraps up another episode on the growth concept. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you, Laia, for sharing your invaluable insights on personal branding, the power of storytelling, and how to create a digital identity that truly connects. All the resources and links are linked in the show notes below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Growth Concept podcast so you can stay updated on the latest episodes and insights from our insightful guests. It also helps our show reach new audiences and guests that I can bring on. Thank you so much. This is the only favor I'll ever ask you, and in return, I will do everything I can to keep improving this show every single day. Thank you so much. Your support means the world to me, and I look forward to seeing you in this next episode. Until then, keep growing.